name is Alexis Orth. This is a presentation of the floor plan for the adding machine for THE 725 Lighting and Design. I'm using a 1/4 inch scale for this floor plan, so let's jump right in. This is the house of the Zero family for scenes 1 and 3. I actually removed the bedroom set. I thought it a stronger design choice to unify the idea that this is where the Zeros live by showing the same scene in both scenes 1 and scene 3. I adoringly call this scene the nagging wife. In it, Zero actually never speaks. He is simply carried along by his wife's words. And so I thought a perfect metaphor for that is for him to be carried along also by the large escalator ramp that you see in the very back of the theater there. This is a 12-foot high escalator ramp. It extends down a hypotenuse of 30 feet and 6 inches for that upper ramp's length. And although the theater can't afford the $500,000 it would take to buy an escalator, nor can it afford the 30,000 pounds that an escalator weighs, it can afford a ramp. And so for the actors to spend some good time working in plie and be able to glide down that ramp as if it were an escalator is the idea here, to make this a smooth carrying force. And so I imagine Zero listening to his wife nag away, coming into their house, and just being carried along by life, carried along by the escalator all the way down to the escalator. He can make his way past those stage right chairs there, and then again jump on the moving walkway that is in the front of the acting space. This is a very slow moving walkway. I imagine this to take 2 full minutes to perform 1 revolution around the walkway. I want to make it super slow because I don't want to nauseate anyone in the audience. And so this, again, this is a force that carries Zero, just like he doesn't do a lot in life. He is simply carried through it. And so showing him just listlessly riding along on this moving walkway as his wife nags on, and then finally ending up sitting on the opposite end of the couch as her, gives us a real picture of their home life. I did want to always include in every single scene 2 elements. I always want to include a cage element because Zero is trapped in a cage. Whether it's in the physical cage or just the cage of life, this man is trapped. And so I always want to have a cage element on stage. For scene 1 and 3, we will have 2 window light gobos, presumably from sunshine coming in from the back of the theater. Just setting those gobos in kind of gives us that cage effect on this. And then always the escalator, always something to do with the escalator, the endlessly moving walkway. This is Zero's descent into madness. His life is endlessly repeating, and I want to convey that word endless in as many scenic elements as possible. All right, so there we go for scene 1. Scene 2 brings us to Zero's workplace. We have Daisy and Zero situated at adding machines, and these little footprints here don't really do it justice. On the right, you'll see a picture of an adding machine. This is a Burroughs adding machine. It has this little scrawny 10-inch work table that is part of it, and I thought the little work table can be what Zero and Daisy are conducting all of their stage business on, and the actual adding machine numbers can be under a drop cloth for the majority of the scene until Zero's boss comes down that escalator ramp and perhaps even traces the same path as Zero, moving across that walkway, and he can uncover the adding machines as he fires Zero. And this gives us this beautiful gleaming picture of efficiency and a good reason for Zero's, again, plummet into madness as well as murder. Let's take a look at scene 3 now. I can imagine the party guests flittering and fluttering, chitter-chattering all the way down that escalator ramp in pairs, singly, just sort of elegantly floating as party guests do, and sort of gathering around both stage right and stage left areas of the couch there. That's a nice acting arena for them. In the very beginning of this scene, Zero and Mrs. Zero are having dinner, and I love the thought of having them sit at opposite ends of that long 12-foot table, just to show that they couldn't be more apart. Even by their furniture, they're driven apart. Okay, on to scene 4. Now, this is a lot tougher scene. I imagine the party guests are no longer flittering and fluttering. They are a harsh jury, and as they smoothly glide down the escalator ramp, this will take a bit of choreography, but if we can get all of those actors to evenly space themselves and then turn to face the audience at exactly the same time, this gives us a beautiful a picture of our jury box. And what I love about them being on the escalator too is that they are all looking down or across at Zero at that 4x4 witness stand. I want to make that witness stand as cage-like as possible. I think caging in the first 3 sides and leaving the side that is closest to the downstage moving walkway, leave that side open so that the director and the actor can both play around with being in and out of the witness stand. But putting that cage-like pattern on that witness stand is definitely a goal. The script calls for a table with law books, so to have this just sort of complete the jury tableau, that beautiful dinner table is now filled with law books, and this just completes our whole jury look. Ultimate condemnation there. Okay, so here we go. On to scene 5. We have here, this is when Zero is in the cage, and I like to call this criminal on cage display. Freedom is too terrible. And if you'll look to the right again, this 4x4x4 cage, I want to use the pattern of a rabbit cage because we know it's very animal-like, and I would love, if the actor would allow it, I would love for the actor to be naked in this cage, because I don't think there's any more stronger opposition than the fancifully dressed Mrs. Zero entering in, coming up to those thin steps so graciously with all her little news clippings, and then the poor pallid Mr. Zero locked in that cage. I want to show that so badly. Now this scene is actually full of gawkers, and there's even a tour guide who is showing off Exhibit A, this terrible murderer. And so rather than have the gawkers walk, I would love for them to take a ride on the moving walkway. The tour guide can jump on and off the moving walkway as long as the scene allows, just never ending with his little diatribe describing the terrible Mr. Zero to the gawkers here. And so to have them move from the stage right to the stage left side of the theater on this moving walkway just gives such a good picture of him being on display. In scene 6, we have the Mr. Zero has presumably been hanged, and now he is in the graveyard. I want to convey this same, this one, the cage element of this is this little graveyard fence that you see in front. Whatever pattern was on the witness stand, want to include as the fence pattern on this little fence here. And I don't want to make it too tall. So either the lovers can go into the fence or they can even step over the fence, whichever works better. But this allows for the actors to finally take advantage of this front area of the acting space. Back here, these beautifully lit tombstones, each in their own pool of light, will actually be disassembled escalator steps. So we'll get those beautiful long shadows, those deep divots that escalators have, and using them as tombstones. Anyone who's in the audience and really able to get a close up on those, I hope will make the connection between the escalator ramp and even in death. Here are these escalator tombstones that are just creating this, once again, endless feel to this play. On to scene 7. This is the only happy part of the play. This is our pastoral loveliness scene. We have here, I'm going to start from the back. This is a 40-foot pastoral loveliness backdrop. In this will be the same fence print as the witness stand and the little fence that we just saw in the graveyard. In that, this will be an endless version of that fence pattern, the endless lake they see, the endless mountains that go on and on, everything just disappearing into infinity. Now, Zero knows that something is not quite right with that backdrop. And they play out this whole scene. This will be the only time that this moving walkway ever stops during the show. And I imagine the whole thing covered by this gossamer or chiffon 18-foot backdrop. In the middle here, exactly where Zero's cage was suspended, will now actually be a duplicate cage top with the cage tree flowers. If you look here on the right, this is called a golden chain tree. And so it's not immediately obvious, but anyone who can pick up on the elements that this is a golden chain tree, they will get the symbolism there. And if it's not obvious enough, they're all suspended by that not very well hidden cage top of flowers. I would like that suspended nice and high, about 8 foot, maybe a little higher if we can't get the shadows off of the actors for that. At the very end of this scene, Zero is very unsatisfied with this final version of life. And I would actually ask the director, could Zero pull this backdrop open all the way from stage right to stage left to reveal the once again endless, horrible escalator that he then makes his escape on into scene 8. It just exposing that escalator, it just can remind the audience that, oh gosh, it's all coming back. It's all starting over. And even though Zero is ascending here, it is still part of his descent into madness. Just getting that sense of him traveling, I think, gives us that. Our final scene of the plate, scene 8. This finds us, the adding machine, in all of its splendor, standing alone in one single spotlight in this beautiful empty theater now. Zero is here. He is hard at work. The adding machine tape can be beginning to spill out over on the stage left side there, and I don't think anything else should really be on the stage. As Lieutenant Charlie comes in and corrects Zero and pulls him off the adding machine, I would love for him to flip a small switch or pull a small chain somewhere that turns on a beautiful white bright light on the top of that 12-foot escalator ramp, so that it can be obvious to the audience that Lieutenant Charlie is just goading Zero into getting on that ramp and completing another cycle of his endless life. And then once Zero runs through, have Lieutenant Charlie turn it off again so that we realize this is not anything new or special. He does this day in and day out. On to the model of the adding machine. Here we go. Welcome to Regents Studio Theater in 1/4 inch scale. I wanted to break down 2 elements of our uniset before we get started. The first one is this 15-foot long moving walkway. It's 8 inches high. It's got this little infinity symbol on it, and it is silently running throughout the duration of the show. I've got the front rows of seats here toward the back of the house for the studio theater, and I've got all the side seats in minus the back rows, so we can see pretty plainly how this fills the theater. The next one is our 33,000-pound escalator. Just kidding, it's a ramp. I knew it would fall through the studio floor, so I didn't put it in. But I put a ramp that looks like an escalator. So that is the trick. The actors in plie will take care of the rest. This is a nice 8-foot wide wall to hide their comings and goings and hanging out on that side of the theater. And this is just tucked plainly all the way in the backstage there. All right. This is Zero's descent into madness. And so it's nice to have a ramp there to make that descent proper-like. We have also, a lot of my color choices are in black and white. And that is for the simple fact that when I first read this play, I felt like it was a bad dream. And black and whites give us that bad dream feel to them. And so I wanted to hang on to that without too much vivid color. In the dream, there's pops and flashes of color. And so we put pops and flashes in here. In Western culture, also, we wear black for mourning and death. We have white, a lot of white lights in the play. To symbolize eternity, both of which are an important part of Zero's journey of reincarnation. So we have here scene 1, and I can just imagine Zero to the tune of his nagging wife slowly taking that ride down the escalator and across the little moving walkway as he's carried on and she nags on, and I can imagine them sitting at opposite ends of the couch. The couch is also, the red is just the symbol of hidden aggression that both Zero and Mrs. Zero both have. And so I think that's my favorite set element piece. It's so bright, and it's that pop, and it captures our attention the way I don't think a bedroom set does. So I'm standing by my design choice to take out the bedroom because I don't believe Mr. and Mrs. Zero belong in the bedroom, if you want to know the truth. This scene also carries over then for the house in scene 3. And you can see there's 2 little nice acting arenas for the actors. They can come and go on the moving walkway. They can flit and chatter down that escalator up top. And I think it's a great place for a party until someone gets arrested for murder. So there we go. That is scenes 1 and 3. Moving on to scene 2 is Zero and Daisy in the workplace. And this, I really like this the more and more I see it. This shows us really a good picture of machines replacing humans. And that's what the adding machines really are about. Instead of 10 humans needing to do a job, you'll only need 1 plus a machine. So Um, these are very plain for Daisy and Zero to stare at. Again, giving us that bad white, black and white, bad dream feel. Um, and so they'll be under drop cloths, and then when uh, the boss comes and fires Zero, and he can take the drop cloths off and then get murdered. So, on to scene 4. Here we go. We've got the same table. We've got our nice little law books. And we've got this. Now, this stand has a lowercase t pattern shape on it. And when Zero takes the stand, it's very much in this center spot of the theater. All of his cage elements there are in that center spot. Zero's very trapped, and so we're going to show that over and over in a cage. My favorite part of this tableau, though, is how the jury can be standing in the escalator, just spaced about 2 feet apart, all up and down this escalator, just literally looking down on him, condemning him openly. So that is Zero Takes the Stand. We've got our nice little law books. Okay, moving on to scene 5. Zero is found to be guilty, and if only it was as easy as poking a hole in the top of the theater to rig something from the top. That would be an answer to prayer. So, all right, here we go. We have got the cage in that same center spot that we saw the stand in, and the poor miserable Zero. And my favorite about this is imagining the gawkers just riding along on the moving walkway, looking at Zero and staring at him like an animal in a cage. Yeah, I think this paints an amazing picture too. We've got this subtle infinity chain adding on and tying into that little infinity on the walkway, just to convey that this is really endless. Zero's life is endless. On to scene 6. This is Lovers in the Graveyard. We have that same lowercase t pattern for a tiny little fence. And this fence is backed up so that the actors now have a chance to play more in front and in back of the moving walkway. We've got all of these little 10 gravestones here lined up, and I really hope that it's a college audience, so I'm really hoping someone catches on to the fact that those are escalator steps for tombstones. And so I plan on lighting these very starkly bright white lights on those tombstones. We got the land of the living in the front and the land of the dead toward the back there. All right, on to our next scene, scene 7. Here we are. Now this is the scene where everybody knows something is not quite right. And so we have this beautiful, colorful backdrop all of a sudden appearing out of nowhere. Where did that come from? And I think Zero knows from the very beginning something is not right here. And we're going to know it as an audience too. Here they are. They're referencing this tree, and we can see that same cage pattern that we saw for Zero's cage, the same infinity chain there. But it must be a tree because look at the golden flowers, of course. So, and they reference it as a tree. They use it as the shade of a tree, but it's not a tree, it's a cage. So that's in there, and we have this beautiful gossamer wrap lying over the moving walkway, which is allowed to stop for this one part because of the pastoral loveliness. So they're allowed to take a break here for whatever reason, and you know, we get this pretty picture, but we know, even as the audience members, something's fake about this. Something is not right. And then when Zero makes the chilling reveal, oh, what? There's an escalator back there. Wait, this is the same as it always was. Then we know all of our suspicions are confirmed. Oh, it's not even real. So I think that's a fun way to do that. The very last scene of the play is the solitary adding machine. And so we've got that here, center stage in all of its sad glory. Zero, of course, is having the time of his life with said adding machine. And we are so aware of the starkness of it all and how empty his life really is. And Lieutenant Charlie comes and tells him the truth about reincarnation, and bless his heart, Zero is taken care of by walking back up that escalator. A bright light will be shining up through it that Lieutenant Charlie can turn on and off. And he leaves the adding machine to go back to life and do it all over again for the 50,000th and first time. So there we are. One more thing I wanted to add on. When you suspend a cage, it does a wonderful thing. It creates tension in the audience because we don't want to see it fall, and we have that inside tension. It also creates tension for the actor inside it. And so I'm happy to leave that at the director's disposal there. All right, thanks for watching.